In a world of noise and endless opinions, her voice cuts through like a whisper in a storm, a voice that should not exist, because in North Korea, truth itself is a crime. This is the story of a girl who was never meant to be heard. She was born in the northern provinces, where winters are long and food is short. Her family, like millions, was told that hunger was a test of loyalty, that pain was proof of faith, that the supreme leader was both father and God. But even as a child, she saw the cracks. She saw soldiers taking food from starving farmers. She saw neighbors disappear for asking questions. She saw her mother hide fear behind forced smiles. Her name was Yeonmi, and her crime was wanting to live. When famine swept through her town, she was 13. Her father was arrested for trading, which in North Korea meant trying to feed his family. Her mother whispered one sentence that changed everything. "We're leaving." They didn't know where they were going, only that if they stayed, they would die. That night, under a moonless sky, Yeonmi crossed the frozen Yalu River into China. It was the first step into freedom, and the first step into another kind of nightmare. Chapter 1. The Border of Shadows. China was not the freedom she imagined. It was a marketplace for human lives. The moment they crossed, brokers found them. They weren't saviors, they were traffickers. Her mother was sold to a farmer. Yeonmi, just 13, was sold to another man. Payment, a few $100s, a sack of rice, and a promise of silence. In the villages of northern China, thousands of North Korean women vanish every year, traded like commodities. Because to the Chinese government, they aren't refugees, they're illegal migrants. If caught, they're sent back to North Korea, to prison camps, torture, or execution. For 2 years, Yeonmi lived hidden, pretending to be someone else. Every knock at the door could mean discovery. Every meal could be her last outside a camp. But in the darkness, she found small acts of light. A woman who smuggled Bibles and whispered prayers. A broker who, against orders, helped her reconnect with her mother. People who risked everything for compassion. And then, one night, they heard rumors of freedom beyond the Gobi Desert. If they could reach Mongolia, they could ask for asylum. It sounded impossible. The journey meant crossing mountains and a frozen desert, without maps, without food, without certainty. But they went. They walked for days. Freezing winds cut through their clothes. At one point, Yeonmi fell and wanted to stop. Her mother held her and said, "If you die here, you'll die as a free person." They kept walking. When they finally saw the barbed wire of the Mongolian border, they dropped to their knees. They didn't know what would happen, freedom or bullets. And yet, in that moment, Yeonmi felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Chapter 2. The world that didn't believe her. When Yeonmi and her mother reached South Korea, they were celebrated as defectors, survivors of the most closed regime on earth. But escape was only half the story. The real challenge was being heard. When she first spoke publicly about her experience. She was 21. Her English was broken, her voice trembling, but the world listened. Millions watched her speech online, a girl describing horrors so vast they seemed impossible. But with fame came doubt. Critics accused her of exaggeration, of propaganda, of lies. They said, "It can't be that bad." She was forced to relive her trauma again and again, not to heal, but to prove it was real. The same world that applauded her courage also questioned her pain. Behind the headlines and viral videos was still the same girl who once crossed a frozen river for freedom, now standing on global stages, speaking for those who never could. Every night, she wondered if her father would be proud. He never made it out. He died in China, still believing they would meet again. Chapter 3. The price of truth. Fame brought light, but also danger. The North Korean regime called her a traitor. State media labeled her a human demon. There were threats, online harassment, and moments she feared for her safety. But silence was not an option, because she knew what silence cost. Her speeches became more powerful, more personal. She spoke of hunger and indoctrination, of children taught to worship portraits instead of parents. She described the camps, the fear, the loneliness of growing up without truth. And for many, she became a symbol, not of politics, but of endurance. Proof that even in the darkest systems, the human spirit can't be programmed. She wrote books, testified before governments, and inspired countless others to speak out. But every time she smiled for a camera, she carried the weight of those still trapped millions of voices that could not be heard. Freedom, she learned, is not a destination. It's a fight that never ends. Epilogue. The power of a voice today. Yeonmi lives in the free world, but the memories never fade. Sometimes, when she stands on stage and the lights are bright, she remembers the dark nights in the desert, her mother's trembling hand, and the sound of the frozen river cracking beneath her feet. She knows she's lucky. Most who try to escape never make it, and yet she speaks for them, for her father, for the millions still trapped behind walls of fear and lies. Her story is not just about one girl. It's about what it means to be human when everything human is forbidden. Because in the end, it wasn't a government or an army that defied a dictatorship. It was a voice, trembling, scarred, but unbroken, that told the truth. Freedom is not given. It's spoken into existence, one story at a time.